Coming up on this episode of the Village Idiom.
My physician actually told me at one point to cut back on my sodium, but I take his advice with a grain of salt. Village Idiom. Hello and welcome to the Village Idiom.
We are a podcast that every week takes
We're a podcast.
Wow.
We're a podcast.
Every week chooses a popular saying to take a shallow but hopefully comedic and once in a while even interesting dive into its meaning, its usage, its origins, but we're also going to use it to hang our otherwise directionless conversation on. My name is Jurassic Mark.
And I'm a podcast.
Who are you really?
I'm skinny. How you doing, man?
Not too bad.
I'm skinny because all I do is drink Coke Zero.
That's why you're skinny.
It's got 0 calories.
Yeah.
Basically wasting away.
I believe that as if it were fact.
It's hard to believe everything that you read on the side of a can.
I feel
It's 0 calories, just like water, except it's not clear.
I feel like
You have to take those with a grain of salt. You have to take those with a
it's
grain of salt.
so good.
Honey.
You have to hear it 3
You have
times.
to take those with a grain of salt, honey.
Yes, it's not entirely true if it's on the side of a can, but
That's a good way to live right there. Well, you know, we've been playing this little intro music for a few weeks, but today it has
I'm
hit
hearing
you.
it. I don't know if the sound system is fire. Is that what the kids are saying? The song
I have
is
such
fire.
a good feeling for today's podcast. Okay, fine.
Oh, here we go.
I had to drop it.
Not a podcast.
I had to drop it like it's not hot.
Yeah, you can't trust everything that you read. Apparently,
Now you got to take it with a grain of salt, and that's exactly the idiom we are gonna.
that's one of those things. Like my grandma always said. Like she said, like take everything I say with a grain of salt. But she was like a wise woman, but she wasn't a good cook.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about my grand.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
Or a salt lick.
whatever. For all the cows out there.
What is a salt lick for? Farmer.
Maybe it's
farmer
just like
skinny.
Maybe I'm just gonna go out there and say it's like catnip for cows, but it's not. No. I'm sure it's some replacing some deficiency
And they
or to
just
help them stay hydrated more. Maybe they retain more fluids, which is for more milk. I'm just making that up on the spot. Balderdash, excuse me. I would say this is a PG program. But think about that. The salt makes you retain fluids, and you want a cow to maximize its fluids so that when it comes up milking time, it has lots of them fluids in it. I'm a podcast.
Is that what salt does, though, or are you making that up, too?
Well, salt is a water retainer.
Is it?
That's a for sure. Yeah. So like folks that are on low sodium diets, sometimes they have a diuretic or something in order to, because they've retained too much fluids, they'll tell you, go on a low sodium diet.
Huh. Look at you with all the medical knowledge.
Well,
A bonus for today.
yeah, I would take everything I say with a grain of salt.
If you want to retain water.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that's what this is. Basically, I am Coke Zero and salt.
Well, I mean,
Retaining water.
I think the word will spread quickly that for all your dietary / medical information / biological news, come here. Come to the Village Idiom.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
Yeah. We got
it right.
We got the skinny. that's my
So do you think, this is not what we're talking about, this is not in my notes, but do you think cows just know? Or is it just like
I think
that?
it tastes good like a bag of chips. And so they just go up to us like, oh man, this is like a bag of chips for a cow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyway, salt lick.
My physician actually told me at one point to cut back on my sodium, but I take his advice with a grain of salt. So you can't trust everything the doctor says.
What's the difference? So, because of our sponsor, HelloFresh, I've been HelloFreshing. I don't know what it is now. More than a year, if not 2 years. HelloFreshing, and it's always like add salt and pepper for seasoning, or add salt for this. Why? Okay.
What's so magical about salt and pepper?
Well, first of all, what's the difference between salts? There's table salt. There's salt. There's kosher
You
salt.
got Himalayan rock salt. You got pink salt. You got sea salt.
Does it make any difference when you're cooking?
I think the Himalayan salt comes from the Himalayas and the sea salt comes from the sea.
That's it.
No, there is coarse salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, what's the difference?
And then there's the salt that you put on the side of the road when it's wintertime.
Okay.
I don't think you're supposed to eat
HelloFresh hasn't called for that yet?
No. I don't know if it's like consumer grade.
Okay, if I'm making a, not like out of a bag pretzels, but if you're making a doughy pretzel, you want that coarse salt.
Yeah.
But that's just preference. That's just like you want to hear that crunch or something.
Sometimes, if you watch cooking channels, they'll ask you use flaky salt.
What is flaky salt?
I see it. Well, when I've seen it done, it's more like it's coarser and it's flaky. Instead of it being coarse like a rock, it's flaky like a strata, like a strata
fish
layer.
Food.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, little flakes.
Flake salt. So it's instead of and some things you're just using table salt because it's so crushed up that you don't get that salt hit. Like when you have like salted caramel or something, it's like, oh, caramel. Oh, that's like a salty hit. Yeah. So it's like its own little chocolate nugget, except
because
it's a salt nugget.
Coarser.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next question.
Sure.
You've been doing good so far.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep them coming. You go to boil water for rice or pasta or whatever. Why do you add salt to the water?
The salt actually.
This has to do with retaining water again. If you want the rice to retain the water.
No, it's not that. It's that the salt actually changes the boiling point of the water.
Get out of here.
I'm not joking with you. Yeah, and so it changes.
You're an encyclopedia.
So the water actually gets hotter.
And Skinnypedia.
Salted water, yeah. But also the flavor.
So it boils quicker,
flavor.
You mean?
Yeah, also the flavor. I don't know about that, but
you don't put in very much. Like a big pot of it's not very much salt. So I was like, this is for flavor because you're salting the water. Mm-hmm. If you want it for the flavor, you'd salt the thing after the pasta or the rice after.
I would take what I say with a grain of salt again, but I'm pretty sure it changes the boiling point. Yeah. Again, what do I know?
Take it with a grain.
My brain's full of chemicals. And HelloFresh. I wouldn't believe everything that comes out of my mouth, and I'm saying it.
You might as well. It's pretty early in the podcast, but we might as well throw out a shout out to our sponsor, HelloFresh, since we're raving about them already.
Yeah, this past week it was funny.
What'd you do?
Well, it was the HelloFresh came this week, and I'd forgot about putting in my. So I get mine on Sunday. So
it chose for you.
So it chose for me.
Interesting.
And so all their little, the alleged things is will learn your preferences.
Yeah. Didn't learn your preferences?
No, it didn't. I liked it.
It learned what it had the most of and needed to get out there.
Exactly. I think we're going to have a lot of this because no one's ordering it. That's what you get. And so I loved it. It was like this mashed. So last night was this mashed potato dinner with pork chops and this onion gravy.
Oh, I've had this one.
Okay. I'm like, this is really good. My kids are not into it.
Oh.
They're what did they say? Oh, the onion, so the cooked onion sauce reminded them of parasites.
What?
Just like this little squirrely.
Oh, the way it looked.
It looked like parasites and threw them off.
Okay, got it. And this is no shot at HelloFresh.
No. To which my daughter started singing Parasites to Coldplay's Paradise. These could be parasites, which just made me laugh.
Did they eat it?
They didn't eat the parasite part. They scooped it all off onto mine, and I was happy to eat their parasites.
Totally.
Which, thank you, HelloFresh.
For your parasitic onions.
For the freshest of parasites.
So have you tried any of HelloFresh's little add-ons that they're doing now? Like the pita chips or the loaf of bread or the...
I have not. The cheesecakes.
Cheesecakes.
No, I have not.
So I haven't done the desserts, but I've been doing there's a pita chip and veggies dip tray, and I love it. Like, it's just sort of an extra. It's like, it's not really meant to go with the meal. Like, we were watching a movie, I'm like, oh, let's throw this together. And it's these, my mouth is watering just as I'm thinking about this parsley and garlic covered pita chips roasted in the oven.
HelloFresh. You should take everything they say with a pinch of salt, grain of salt, some salt.
Because it's asked for all the time. Mm-hmm. Make sure you have salt on hand.
It's good. Well,
there you go. Take everything with a grain of salt. How much is a grain of salt? Because this is what I learned. We'll get into origins in a second, but this is one thing sort of outside of the origins of the idiom. How much is a grain of salt?
It's the same as a pie cost.
Say that again.
It's the same as a pie cost.
Is that English?
Yes.
A pie cost.
Yeah.
What does a pie cost?
About $4.
I see. As I was asking the question, I heard myself asking it.
There's another version of that I couldn't bring myself to use.
Oh, really? Yeah, tell me after.
Yeah, it's not good.
Okay. Well, in the old-fashioned, this again, I'm not jumping the gun on origins here. In the old-fashioned English units of weight, a grain weighs approximately 65 milligrams, which is about how much table salt a person might pick up in a pinch. Yeah. So a grain isn't a...
I guess it depends if you got that.
I always thought a grain is like the individual...
Yeah.
That is a grain.
That is a grain. I'm pretty sure that seems like a grain. But a pinch sounds like many grains.
Measure a unit of weight. A grain weighs 65 milligrams, which is about a pinch of salt.
So a grain and a pinch are the same?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the first time hearing about that.
Is a version of the idiom. Take this with a pinch of salt.
It's not quite as ringy.
No, we don't say it on this side of the pond.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The saline aqueduct.
The saline aqueduct. Take this with a...
The other side of the saline aqueduct. Yeah.
It does sound fancier to have sea salt versus salt. Like if you're like, oh, this has sea salt. Oh, caramel and sea salt.
Right. And then you get the sea salt from a location that makes it even more exotic. Like the Himalayan pink Himalayan sea salt. Right. Why is it pink?
And they might as well just add the word singing in there. Because the Himalayan pink singing sea salt.
It's beautiful. If you don't like it, at least you're being sung to.
Sung to by the Himalayan pink singing salt. I missed a word in there somewhere.
It captures the last thing it heard into the grain.
Speaking of tongue twister.
The guy comes rocketing down the mountain.
In the Himalayas.
Oh, and the sound. It's just...
Speaking of tongue twisters.
Okay.
I have a little calendar. Sits on the back of my toilet. And it's got like whatever fact of the day. This has been decided to be the world's hardest English tongue twister. Do you know it already? It is. I'm going to say it super slow because I don't want to say any bad words.
Before you get to it,
yeah.
Imagine targets. Bathroom targets. Oh, I guess they have such a thing.
Floating?
Yeah, floating targets that made laser sounds when you shot them.
When you actually nailed it?
Or battleship or something. Anyways, continue.
Or as long as you're hitting the target, the song continues. If you miss, the song stops. Or the beginning of a joke, no punchline. If I gotta drink more water, what's the punchline?
Wow, something that's actually time sensitive like that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm following you.
Anyway, the world's
picking up
the world's hardest.
Draining out.
How much time have we wasted?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with. World's hardest English tongue twister is this: the sixth sick sheik's sixth sheep is sick.
Wow.
The sixth sick sheik's sixth sick sheep's sick.
I feel cussing about to happen.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm going to go slow. But that happened to come up the other day when I was saying the singing pink salt, sea salt on the seashore.
Right. The sixth sheep.
The sixth sick sheik's sixth sick sheep's. No, I already got it wrong. The sixth sick sheik's sixth sheep's sick.
Wow. That's
so if you want to record yourself saying it faster than I just did, send that in. It will get played. I promise you that.
Perfect.
Well, what do you think?
Well, we should probably drop into see where this bad gal really comes from.
Let's drop into it.
Let's do it.
I said some words. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around and looked behind. Those words came from another mind.
Okay, so I've got 3 potential answers. I'm not going to quiz you because all 3 of these are yeses. We don't truly know. There's one that is more predominantly been accepted as...
You guys can play along and not guess with me.
Yeah, you can play along, but they're all right.
Okay.
So the first potential origin of the idiom, take this with a grain of salt. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
I saw a hand gesture out of the corner of my eye, like you were about to say something.
I was looking pensively into the camera.
Let's have a moment.
Okay.
First potential origin is that the idea comes from the fact that food is more easily swallowed if taken with a small amount of salt. End of story. Take this with a grain of salt.
So
food
if something is more
palatable,
tastes better, you'll eat it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too hard to
Spoonful of sugar philosophy, which is more
arguably much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the second potential.
But in some cultures,
Yep.
this has the potential to go off the rails, so hang in there with me. Some cultures do dessert better.
Okay.
So I like a sweet ender to a meal. And so
sweet ender. Dessert, you mean?
Like dessert. At the end of it doesn't have to be like a lot big of this fancy thing, just if it's sweet.
Yeah.
But some cultures don't have I enjoy some Indian culture because they do theirs like dripping in sugar,
right.
And then it's already made of sugar and then powdered with sugar.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a colonial thing because the British got to them and pumped sugar over that. I don't know how, who, what, when. I don't claim to know anything about this, but
who had the sugar first?
French desserts or the Western European desserts, like maybe that sugary part appeals to me.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the Indian desserts. But like if you go to like some of the Asian food stores, that they don't always do sweet dessert the same way.
It's not as
it's
sweet.
Like, here's poppy seed paste, something.
Yeah, red bean dessert
to
bun.
which I will enjoy it, but it's not
delicious.
It's not that sweet hit.
Right.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
That's all I had to
if I'm
say.
not mistaken, there's some cultures that literally eat their courses opposite of what we're used to. So tiny dessert right up front, and then
Get you salivating with something sweet, and then
then meal, then end with like a salad. So it's like a cleanser, like you're going out refreshed.
I couldn't imagine choking down a salad last. I'll choke down a salad to get to the good parts,
Right.
but I won't end with you know what?
See, I think that's why we do that way here.
This has been so good
because you're so hungry.
I'm just gonna leave this. I can't finish my salad.
Yeah,
That's what would happen.
No dessert for me.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, second.
It's like a walking bowel obstruction because he never has any roughage whatsoever in his body.
I'm going to do this out of order. I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 1, then 3, then 2 because 2 is the most believed. Number 3, the phrase didn't really pop up again until 1647. So pop up again. Yeah, I can't do it out of order because number 2 is more believed, but I'll do it in chronological order. Number 2, hypothesis of the phrase's origin include Pliny the Elder's Naturalis Historia, regarding the discovery of a recipe for an antidote to a poison. In the antidote, one of the ingredients was a grain of salt. Threats involving the poison were thus to be taken with a grain of salt and therefore less seriously. So there is some Latin contradictions, and what I mean by that is the phrase cum grano salis, which means with a grain of salt, is not actually what Pliny wrote, but that is what a lot of newer translations or new versions say. Original
Pliny
was
the Elder.
Pliny the Elder. Original was adito salis grano, which is after having added a grain of salt. It's all the same.
It sounds like a character from Hagar the Horrible. Remember that cartoon series?
Yeah, it doesn't
Hagar
sound Pliny the
Elder and Hagar
he was
the Horrible.
a Viking, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Pliny the Elder and Hagar the. It all sounds
Pliny the Elder, whose real name was
Plint, but
Gaius Plinius Secundus, was also known as Pliny the Elder. So that was. Did I say what era that was? I don't think I did.
Viking.
It was old. Really, 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 really old.
Pliny the
I
Elder.
want to say 1400s. I don't know why I didn't write it down here. But Pliny means this literally, apparently. So when mixing this potion against poison, add an actual grain of salt. So it's not really used metaphorical there, but it is.
Makes the poison taste better?
No, it's the antidote. It's the salt.
Well, there's things like syrup of ipecac.
Like if you swallowed a slug, the antidote is salt.
I think the antidote is vomiting. So things like that induce vomiting, like a syrup of ipecac type thing, or something that like gets you like
Syrup of ipecac?
yes,
Anything ipecac is anything with cac is going to make you throw up.
syrup of ipecaca. Yeah, so I don't know about like medis, like I don't know a thing about it. I would take what I'm saying right now with a grain of salt. But I could see something like using, if it was salty, you might reject it. You might barf it. If it was like,
Yeah.
I'm poison. take this. Drink this seawater.
It wasn't about that. That in the actual ingredients of the antidote, there was a grain of salt. So it became the cure. But he meant it literally. It wasn't metaphorical. When did it become metaphorical? Well, this phrase disappeared, because it wasn't a phrase. Didn't pop up again until 1647 when John Trapp used it in his commentary on the Old and New Testaments. And he wrote, "This is to be taken with a grain of salt. The trouble is that scholars aren't quite sure that it meant the same thing to him as it does to us now, but he does use it metaphorically in some form or another." So from some period after that, so kind of disappeared again. In 1908, the Athenaeum, probably mispronouncing that, which is an American literary journal, included this line: "Our reasons for not accepting the author's pictures of early Ireland without many grains of salt." So there you go. It's used metaphorically again. So it's scattered and then somehow picked up speed in the post 40s and 50s. The kind of the cool part is that while its origins are non-North American, metaphorically, it's pretty proven that it is a result of America, because even the Brits didn't start using it until post-World War II. And the earliest print in any British thing was the Cicero in the Roman Republic, which was 1948. So this is the quote: "A more critical spirit slowly developed so that Cicero and his friends took more than the proverbial pinch of salt before swallowing everything written by these earlier authors." There it's used exactly the way we do, and that's in 1948. So
here's an interesting one that came across in the grain of salt vein. Last year sometime they started putting out these pictures of we've photographed a black hole. And so you're like, what about all those pictures of black holes we've seen over the years? And maybe it was just a couple of years back. And the actual picture of a black hole, I'm like, what have I been watching, or what have they been telling me in science books and whatnot, that this is what a black hole looks like? And it's there are like artist renderings
of black holes.
Yeah. And so it's like, this is what an artist rendition of a black hole is. So when you see on certain, like, a textbook or something, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone went out with a Polaroid and snapped a picture of a black hole.
Right.
Yeah. And the current pictures of...
So are there any pictures of black holes?
Yeah. So if you look up like a current picture of a black hole, it's like, that's terrible. Like,
Really?
within our, like, megapixely world of things, where is this amazing photo? And it's trash, in my opinion.
There is no amazing photo of a black hole.
You should, you briefly look it up. Or get the goggle to show you an actual picture.
That's
Anyways,
so interesting, because I can picture it in my head, but you're telling me it's not real.
No, and some of those science things that are like, this is what it looks like. It's an artist rendition of what it's thought to look like. Yeah, so take that with a grain of salt.
Take that.
Yeah, either what I'm saying could be entirely fictitious and made up in my head from a feverish pizza dream, or everything you've learned is a lie.
I just realized I was going to play a little clip here, but I just realized I have no headphone jack on my phone anymore. So let's see if you can pick this up on my mic.
Sure.
Wait for it.
They're telling people we're descended from a pack of apes, even though there's nothing about it in the Bible.
Ned, you've got to take this thing with a grain of salt. I mean, come on.
There you go. One more grain of salt quote.
They tell us we're from a pack of apes.
All right. Well,
that's it. That was the end of my moronic science ranting. Take it with a grain of salt.
That was not rambling or ranting. That's good stuff. Good stuff. I'm saying it. I'm calling it.
Well, we should probably fizzle off and you got something more you wanted to add in?
I do.
Okay.
It's a correction.
All right.
So,
were we wrong again about something? After this episode, we should get a few, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Except that we covered our bases this time with every few minutes going, take this with a grain of
salt. This might be entirely
I have a few fact checkers out there who which I just love when we get it. I don't love when we get it wrong, but I do love that people take the time to chime in. I'm like, that's great. If we got it wrong, we want to know. But
is this like an actual fact check or is this an opinion check?
No, fact check. So I've got a few. I'll do two now. So one is not a fact check. One is just humorous. So you remember when
an anecdote of sorts.
Remember when Dangle Ano was here, and he left us with a riddle link that was something along the lines of orthogonally adjacent. Is it not kitty corner? Nervous system doctor.
Okay.
Right. So the correct answer was kitty cornerologist.
Okay.
And he confirmed that is what he meant. It wasn't the great because it's neurologist, but he goes, yeah, that's what I was.
Corneurologist.
So
cornea.
RD squared texted.
Okay.
And with an answer that was tongue in cheek. He was kidding, but
it was better.
It was better than the real answer, which was kitty core nervous system doctor.
Okay.
Just took the actual word.
Nervous. Yeah. Okay.
As
opposed to cornea. Neurologist.
So technically his sounds better, but it was in the question.
I see.
And speaking of orthogonally, you were very, very, very wrong on its definition.
It's not the kitty corner ones?
No, it's not the kitty corner ones. In fact, they were pretty specific. So this came from Tater Tots and Family. And so this is her.
They're good gamers, so I trust their opinion. Actually,
this is her
her
text.
fact.
Her text to us through Instagram. I have serious issue. That's how it starts. Orthogonally adjacent is not the same as diagonal. That's the whole point of the word.
It's adjacent.
She said, in Carcassonne, you can only place tiles or orthogonally adjacent to each other. You cannot place them diagonal to each other. So while
she's saying orthogonally adjacent is just plain old adjacent?
Well, I looked it up because I'm like, okay, why not just say perpendicular or,
well, perpendicular, yeah, okay.
Left, right, up, down. But it has to do with right angles specifically. So while the end result is almost like saying it's perpendicular to another point in time or point in space, it has to do with right angles themselves. And the result of those right angles is the orthogonally adjacent point.
Okay.
So
she's a good gamer.
You have to read it to really understand, but
I trust she's actually looked at some actual
correction
things.
of the week. I'll give you another one next week.
That's okay. I don't mind that. I trust her. So yeah. So why use orthogonally adjacent when you can just use adjacent?
When you can just say
non-diagonal.
Up.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So yeah.
I don't mind getting that kind of corrected.
All right. Well, we're running out of time. Riddling is a game we like to play that takes a two-part trivia-based question and requires a two-part but overlapping answer, overlapping by syllable or words. For example, last week, Skinny left us with, this alcoholic icebox hails from the land of King Midas, and I didn't leave one because I figured mine was too similar. So mine was going to be, this overpriced cooling shop in your hotel room is where Midas was king. Is it the same answer? My answer was mini Phrygia.
Phrygia.
Mini?
A bar.
Oh, bar fridge, mini fridge.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, okay. So similar.
All answers acceptable.
Yeah, so that's how you play the game, though. So the correct answer would have been mini Phrygia.
Nice.
Which is where Lilliput is.
Okay.
There's Phrygia, and there's mini Phrygia.
Fair enough. Well, I like it. Let me get you in on one.
Sounds good.
I'm going to start with my second one. I actually think my first one might be a little too out there, a little too niche. Okay. Use me to kill a vampire.
What?
Well, I wouldn't quite say that.
Oh, like a wooden stake me with a grain of salt? That's how you play the game. That's a classic riddling right there. Wouldn't stake me with a grain of salt. Stake it with a grain of salt.
Wouldn't stake it with a grain of salt.
All right, let me give you one. Gaius Plinius Secundus's father was a hamster, and his mother smelled of this.
Pliny the Elderberry.
That's exactly right.
That's so funny. Pliny the Elderberry. Okay, so this is a little out there.
Okay.
Our illegitimate children, you have a legit chance. It's pretty niche. Okay. Their embellished story is seasoned by Turkish restaurateur Nurset Göçe.
Oh man, I have no idea.
He's famous. It's whether you know you may know his nickname, but his actual name is like.
You're gonna have to just tell me. I don't even know where to go.
Nusret Gauthier. Take it with a grain of.
Take a grain of salt.
So the big nickname. You may know him to see him from the videos.
Salty Nicholas.
Salt Bay.
Nope.
So you've seen him in meme kind of videos where he's like always in glasses and he puts the salt on stuff where it's like in his hand and he drizzles it from his hand down his forearm onto the meal.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, there's no hair or anything in there, but yeah, it's his famous like cascade of salt.
Interesting.
Salt Bay, yeah.
No, never heard of him.
Okay. You may
I'll probably
I'm
now
surprised
that
you haven't seen it.
Now that you've mentioned
Salt
it,
Bay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like getting a new car. You see a car everywhere. Now I'm going to see Salt Bay everywhere.
Take it with a grain of Salt Bay.
Well, I got one more. We're going to leave it for our Village Idiom children, but tell them how they can get a hold of us.
You can reach out to us on Instagram at the.village.idiom or email thevillageidiompodcast@gmail.com, or whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or on the Twitters
And
at 3 Minutes Gone.
and this is the one for you. Listen to this with skepticism and push it. Push it real good.
And that's 3 Minutes Gone.
I think you know what that is.
I do know what that one is. Thank you. I enjoyed that. I guess I'll enjoy it and not answer it.
Correct.
Well, it's been fun putting today's idiom together for you.
I know I liked it.
We hope you enjoyed spending 30 minutes with us. Have a great day. Enjoy your exercise. Enjoy your ride to work. I'm Skinny.
I am Jurassic. Needs a little salt, Mark.
And these are the Village Idioms.
Take life with a grain of salt.
That's 3 minutes gone.